All right, Alexander, let's talk about what's going on in the European Union as they are battling the CV crisis and a financial meltdown, or at least a financial meltdown that will be coming very soon once they sort out all their difficulties with the CV crisis. And we know that in May, pretty much most of the EU economies and the economies in Europe will be phasing in some sort of opening up of the economy. Every country is a little different, but we know that May will be a transition month where we will be seeing the economies of Germany, Italy, Spain, and just about every EU country trying to get back to business. And the main business at hand, Alexander, is of course the battle between the ESM loans and the Euro bonds, or some people may be calling them the Corona bonds. So take us into what's going on, because it looks like we have some more tension brewing between Germany and Italy, Merkel and Conte. And of course, you have Matteo Salvini in Italy waiting in the wings.
I think tension is a huge understatement. I think that we've now got into a position where the two sides on this issue, the French, Italian, Spanish, Greek, South European, Latin axis, if you like, because we Greeks are not Latins, but never mind, who want Euro bonds, and the northern group, Germany, the Netherlands, Finland, the others. I think they're coming to the point where they actually actively hate each other, and I predict another major row. Now, we've covered the meetings that have happened until recently. There was a European Council meeting a few weeks ago, which Merkel attended. At that time, she was self-isolation. So she spoke through she didn't speak directly. She spoke through an interpreter, and you couldn't apparently even see her. So she was a sort of spectral presence. And that meeting, the European Council meeting, the European Council, just to say, is a European leaders summit meeting, a virtual meeting, obviously. That went absolutely nowhere, and agreed absolutely nothing. Macron, the Italians and the Spanish demanded Euro bonds, and the Germans, the Dutch, the Finns, the Slovaks, and all of those said no, and nothing was agreed. And then there was going to be another meeting a few weeks later of EU finance ministers. And again, we had extraordinary strong positions being taken by both sides. We discussed in one of our videos a powerful and passionate article by the Spanish Prime Minister in the British media, in which he again was putting the case for debt mutualization, which is in effect Euro bonds. And what happened at the meeting is that there was no agreement on Euro bonds at all. There was instead an agreement to extend the European Stability Mechanism. That's the famous mechanism that was set up 10 years ago to deal with the Eurozone crisis that was then, and whereby the Germans and the northern countries lend money to distressed economies in southern Europe, in Italy, in Greece, and impose conditions. And that was what we got again. And no one was happy with that. There was a huge row about it in Italy, which again we discussed in one of our videos. And effectively, we have a non-plan. There's no plan within the EU to decide how to move forward. Now, what has started to happen is, again, there's been a build-up of demands in advance of this European Council meeting for Euro bonds once again, because, as you absolutely rightly said, Alex, we're going to start seeing an easing of the lockdowns over May. May is supposed to be the transition month until we get to June. We'll see how well that works, by the way. But that's in theory the plan. We have economies across Europe which have cratered. The German economy is going to be down. It's going to experience a recession of about -7% of GDP this year. Italy's about -10. Other countries perhaps worse, and those are the official figures, and the reality may be much worse than that. There is no agreed plan to go forward. And Merkel has now had a meeting with the CDU, her own party, in which she again ruled out Eurobonds. So there is no plan, there is no agreement, there is no explanation of how these recoveries are going to happen across the European Union, except at levels of state government. And there's no coordinated agreement as to how it's going to be done. So Europe looks like it's going to reopen with no plan at all for how it's going to sort out its economic problems or go forward. What the European governments themselves have done is that they've taken on massive more debt. So that's all they've managed to do. Each European government is now more indebted than it was going into the crisis. The German government can withstand it because it's got a good, strong credit position. Countries like Italy can't. And nothing's been done to help the Italians. Nothing's been done to help the French. So we have, again, to use that wonderful Greek word, we have stasis. We have immobility. We have no movement.
Which is exactly the way Merkel likes it. Alexander, let's focus on Italy since you mentioned it. And I think the big question is whether there will be an Italian exit from the EU. Let me go to an article by Tom Lungo, which has the title, Merkel Survives the Corona Apocalypse, but the EU won't. Let me read you an excerpt from that article and you can comment on it. And it focuses on Italy. Moreover, now the question of EU membership in Italy is a coin flip. Two different polls have it well within the margin of error. Lastly, and most importantly, Conte's coalition government is split on whether to avail itself of the newly approved loans. Reuters reported that the divisions within the Italian coalition are rising and portend a split. In a show of political spine not seen in over a year, senior partner, Five Star Movement is opposed while the Eurocentric Democrats are all for it, since, as of right now, there are no strings attached to the money. Conte will have to settle the dispute before a video conference among EU leaders on April 23, when Italy will be expected to make its position clear. He tried to defuse the quarrel on Wednesday, warning in a Facebook post that the ESM risks dividing the whole of Italy, and adding that more information was needed on the terms of any credit lines before a final decision could be taken. Until these details are clear, discussing whether an ESM loan is in Italy's interest is merely abstract and schematic debate, Conte said. But we all know there will be strings in the end. If you doubt that assertion, I suggest you ask Greece about this. So Conte has his work cut out for himself. There is real urgency now in the EU to get even token Eurobonds approved before Germany takes over the presidency of the European Commission in July, where it will set the agenda on the EU's next 7-year budget, after years of kicking the can down the road to avoid a messy political upheaval, which is Merkel's trademark move. Nothing has changed in the EU when it comes to fixing its untenable structure. And for this reason, as long as Angela Merkel is on the stage, there will be no European dream.
Right, lots to unpack there, and as always with Tom Longo, an incredibly insightful analysis of the crisis within the EU. Now, can I just talk about Merkel, because of course, it's a point that Tom Longo has also made. I mean, a few weeks ago, before this crisis struck, Merkel seemed to be completely on the ropes. Her party was losing local elections, regional elections all over the place. The AfD was in the ascendant, and her successor, AKK, had been forced to step down, and things didn't look good for her. And now the crisis came, and like the vampiric character, I'm sorry to say that she is, the kind of situation that this has created has made her strong again. It's really quite bizarre how, as everybody else, as things go bad for everyone else, she comes out stronger. She thrives on other people's misfortunes. It's a most extraordinary situation. So she is now once again securely leader of the CDU. And the popularity of the CDU, her party, has increased by 15%. Now, the reason it's increased by 50% is because she is opposing Eurobonds, which is a popular position to take in Germany. Now, one other thing about Merkel, you said a extremely insightful point just now when you said that Merkel likes situations on stasis, in other words, of no movement. That is exactly what she wants, because of course she wants all these countries to emerge out of this crisis with huge amounts of debts, because then of course they have to turn to her. At that point, she's the Queen of Europe once again. At this point, she can impose whatever loans she likes on these countries. And at that point, she can impose whatever conditions she wants on the loans that she is going to impose on those countries. It would be a rerun of the Eurozone crisis, 2009 to 12, all over again, only in much worse form. It is exactly the kind of position that she likes to be in. She once again becomes the indispensable person. She can even tell the German people like that, you know, you need me because I'm the person who is able to hold everything together. I'm the person who provides the loans, which keeps the European Union together. But at the same time, since it's your money, you need to rely on me so that the conditions I impose are going to be the strict ones that you require. That this is classic Merkel, and it is disastrous. And the point that Tom Longo is making, and needs to be made, is that Italy, if it goes along with this, which is what the Democratic Party in Italy, Conte's and the Five Star Movement's coalition partner, wants Italy to do, it will be playing Merkel's game, and it will be putting Italy back in prison, a worse prison than it was in before, and it will give the key to that prison to Angela Merkel. That's all they're going to do. And it really now comes down to what the Five Star Movement is ultimately all about. I mean, are they going to really see this thing through? Are they going to be prepared to break up the coalition again, if that's what it takes? So when Conte goes to the meeting and confronts Merkel, is he going to be prepared to say no, even if that means putting the coalition, the existing coalition, in jeopardy? And if that does happen, will he turn to the only other person with whom he can form a government, who is Salvini? It's up to him. But at the end of the day, be very clear, not just the future of Europe, but the future of Italy now depends within the short term on what Conte does. If he capitulates to the Democratic Party, he capitulates to Merkel, he keeps Europe together for a few more months. The can is again kicked down the road. The people of Italy and of the rest of Europe pay.
So Merkel has the keys to Greece, and it looks like she is vying for the keys to Italy. Interesting.
Yes.
Where's Macron in all of this? Is it me, or has the CV sidelined Macron?
Yeah, I think it has. I mean, he tried to make a big. You know, I'm going to say something. I think he pushed too hard. Actually, I think tactically he was unwise to push so hard on Eurobonds at that point, because I think that by doing that and making it so obvious that it was part of his agenda, instead of weakening Merkel, which is I think what he wanted to do, he ended up strengthening her, and oddly enough, at the same time highlighting the structural weaknesses in the whole European project. So I think that he has been sidelined. He's finding that in this kind of crisis, at the end of the day, France doesn't count for very much, just as it didn't during the Eurozone crisis of 2009 to 12 and of the Greek crisis in 2015. Because the Germans hold the purse strings, you know, he who pays the piper calls the tune, and that person is Merkel.
All right, we'll leave it there. Alexander Mercouris, editor-in-chief of the Duran. Thank you very much, guys. If you like this video, click on the subscribe button down below. Smash that like button as well. And please look for an audio copy of this video on iTunes and on Soundcloud as well. And also donate to us on PayPal, on Patreon, and we are also on Subscribestar. Your donation really helps us out. And check out the Duran shop, pick up some merchandise. We've got polo shirts and magic mugs. Alexander, which magic mug do you have?
Well,
your geopolitical IQ.
This magic mug is the mug which has the coat of arms of the Alpha Force, which is Russia's elite special forces unit. Russia has several special forces units, but this is the most elite one. It's the one that carries out anti-terrorist activities, but many others also. And it's known they've been active in Syria. They were active in Chechnya before, when the Russians were fighting the jihadi rebels there. They were also active, of course, before the Soviet Union fell, in Afghanistan, and they carried out a famous operation in 1979 when about a dozen of them stormed the presidential palace in Kabul, and despite the fact that it was defended by about 300 men. So I mean, it's about a dozen of them took on 300 men and won, which is quite amazing. But anyway, there we are. So it's their famous special forces unit. It's absolutely the equivalent, if you like, of the SAS or Delta Force or all of those that we are famous for in the West. And of course, it's on one of our amazing Duran magic mugs, the best magic mugs in the world. I say that without hesitation. And as our viewers can see, Alex and I have exactly the same mug. This is not because we pre-planned it. It was just chance. It's two minds thinking alike once more. So they are the best magic mugs you can get. They keep your tea and coffee perfectly hot. One day, a few days ago, you may have seen that I was going to drink champagne from one of my magic mugs because it was Easter Day, the Orthodox Easter Day. I duly did, and it was great. So there you go. These are the best mugs. You can drink champagne from them, and you can also drink your tea and coffee from them, and you won't find better mugs anywhere. I say that without any hesitation. You won't find better shirts either than the ones we have on our shop. We have amazing polo shirts like the one I'm wearing now, 100% cotton, embroidered with a double-headed eagle of the Duran, extraordinarily stylish and elegant, and they come in many colors, and you can wear them in all sorts of places, and you will look great in them. And we also have other types of shirts, t-shirts, long-sleeved and short-sleeved, also 100% cotton. We also have V-neck shirts, which are equally good. And of course, we have other great things. We have hats, hoodies, and stickers. And we also have a range of very interesting and informative and, dare I say it, educational ebooks on topics like Ukraine-gate, Russia-gate, Brexit, and Epstein. So don't hold back. Come to us. Come to the Duran. Come to our shop. Support us. Be the proud owner of these wonderful things. Alex will tell you how to do it.
Just go to the duranshop.com. You'll find a link in the description box down below. And I forgot to mention, we also have our new ebook on the oil price war with MBS, Saudi Arabia, Russia, Putin, and US shale as well. So you'll also find that on the shop. Alexander Mercouris, editor-in-chief of the Duran. Till next time, everybody, take care.